remember who we're talking to next because he famously played DCI Burnside in The Bill, massive show. It is the actor Chris Ellison, but you haven't heard from him much recently because he's been left unable to speak after being diagnosed with aphasia 18 months ago. So, of course, in the last few days, when Bruce Willis revealed that he had the same condition, which can affect your ability to understand language, it's brought this whole condition to everyone's attention.
And he and his wife decided to go public as well. Chris's wife, Anita, has now become his full-time carer. But before we speak to them both live, we're going to see Chris in his last scene as DCI Frank Burnside in The Bill. Would you believe it's 22 years ago? Give me a box set and a bottle of wine and I'm gone for the evening. Well, Chris joins us now with his wife, Anita. Now, look, it's important to point out that, like Bruce Willis, you, Chris, you may have great difficulty with speech now, but it's very important to say, Chris, that you remain fully aware of the world around you, and you are more than happy to join us today. You've made that very clear. So, Anita, speaking for both of you, why did you decide to do what Bruce Willis and his family have done this weekend and talk about Chris's condition?
Mainly, it's been so lonely because Chris wouldn't go out. We found when we did go out and he'd see people, he felt really embarrassed. And he'd just grab my arm because he knew he couldn't speak. And he didn't want people to see him like that. We just felt, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. He wasn't being vain or anything. He just was desperate because he knew he couldn't answer back. So we'd go home. And we've kind of been like hermits, really. Haven't gone out much at all. So when I heard about Bruce Willis, I thought, well, Chris's talents have been taken away. His gifts, you know, he was a great actor. He's a wonderful artist. But he's the same man. He's the same intelligent man inside. And I feel he still deserves the respect and love of everyone. You know, it's time for him to... it's like coming out, you know.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Important to do it, and I think
you may say it's difficult to explain, but I have to tell you, it's not at all difficult to understand that reserve and that embarrassment. Chris, I know that you're happy to try and answer some questions with quite simple yes or no answers. So let's give that a go.
Yes.
Since the decision to go public at the weekend, do you feel better about yourself?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I go to maybe watching. Oh God!
If I can answer for you,
yes.
If you don't mind me answering for you, for me, I've seen a great change in Chris. He was immediately lifted because I explained what was going on. And at first he didn't want to go on TV, he didn't want anybody to know. And then I said to him, now everybody will know, all your friends. And when people still remember Chris when we go out, and they come up to him. And now, hopefully they will understand. If he wears the lanyard that says, I cannot reply, but I do understand, he doesn't feel like an idiot. You know, you feel like people think you're crazy because... you can't get words out or they think you're drunk.
If you're someone that wants to and is as sociable and intelligent as you are, Chris, and as you know him to be, Anita, you don't want to appear rude, but you're trapped behind this condition. I think you've done a wonderful service, and I think for yourselves and for everybody else, because aphasia is something that probably wasn't in most people's consciousness until Bruce Willis talked about his condition and it became under the spotlight. And many people might still think that it's the condition itself, really, but it's actually the way it affects your body, and it can come from a stroke or it can come from all sorts of things. In a sense, Derek, because of COVID, has a version of this where he can understand, sometimes can do odd words, but can't express himself. And it's very interesting what you say, Anita, about the loneliness of that, because you've lost that relationship and that ability for others to see your partner, haven't you? What would you say to people who might not recognise that they have aphasia or that their loved one does, what would you say to them? Because, of course, Chris's came in a sudden big stroke. That's what started it, didn't it?
Yes. Well, I wanted people to understand what aphasia is, because we didn't know what aphasia was, like yourself. You know, nobody knows what it is. So when you can explain to get it out there and educate people, it's a new word, really, aphasia. It was a new word to us. And I'd say to people, just be patient. He can't go out on his own, so I will always be there to answer for him and try and understand. But I just say, Chris can understand you. He just cannot answer back.
Well, it was very clear. It was very clear when I put a direct question to Chris 2 or 3 minutes ago. Fully understood the question, of course he did, but just has difficulty in forming words to make a reply. It's as simple as that. And once one understands that, everything is clear. Look, we've got our own doctor here, Dr. Hillary. How exactly does aphasia? Why does it particularly affect speech? Sure. And the ability to read.
I'm so pleased Anita and Chris have done this to raise awareness. It's quite a common condition, usually caused by a stroke, but can be caused by other things as well, brain injury, trauma, neurodegenerative disease, dementia, of course, and brain infections. So I'm so pleased they've done this. Aphasia means difficulty with verbal expression or receptive understanding. So sometimes they can't understand what we're saying. Clearly, Chris can understand what people are saying, but he can't find the words. And it's due to a particular region of the brain which finds words, which understands language and is able to express language. It can affect reading and writing as well, and gestures too. So it has far-reaching consequences, but it's not an uncommon condition. It's not uncommon, but
it's the kind of symptom, isn't it, as opposed to a disease.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things. When Bruce Willis had aphasia, everybody thought, oh, what's that? Is it a disease? It's not. It's the manifestation of another problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be associated, as with stroke, with the disability in the limbs. So it can be a paralysis of a limb or a side of the body.
Can you help it? Can you rehab it? I mean, obviously, Anita, I know you and Bruce Willis's family have been saying, haven't they, that they're working together to try and work with it. Anita, I'm sure you're doing that every day, aren't you, as well? Is there hope for Chris and Anita?
We have care.
What's the way forward?
Yeah, well, music therapy can be very helpful.
Okay.
Music therapy can help with the intonation and the rhythm of speech. You know how people speak in a sort of rhythm, and stammerers, for example, can be helped with music. They can sing a song, but they can't necessarily find a sentence without stammering. So music has a place, but there are other therapies as well which can really help to...
What are you doing, Anita and Chris? What are you doing? You two?
Well, strangely enough that you say music therapy, Chris was having singing lessons before his stroke. And he's discovered he's got a great voice. I mean, is there anything he can't do? That's what I say. And the singing lessons will carry on. Yeah. We've had a couple... And suddenly, this voice came out. Wow. It was really weird. And the teacher is 92. She was an opera singer, Patricia Johnson. She's amazing.
So, Anita.
And she's very strong. And she says, come on, you know. Right. So he just needs a little bit of a kick, but
so, Anita,
it really helps.
Now
and it boosts...
I'm sorry, it's these blooming live links. You know, we talk over each other a bit. It's unavoidable. But now that you've made this... No, I'm sorry. Now that you've made this incredibly courageous decision and you clearly are rejoicing in it, you're clearly very, very happy that you've done what you've done, what things will you both be able to do now that up until this weekend, when you went public, you were just too shy to do, too nervous to do, just too inhibited to do?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking of is, let's go for a walk on the seafront and go for lunch.
Hey.
And... I don't know before. I don't know what was the matter with me. I think I've been in a kind of mourning, really. And it's taken me a long time to come to terms with it. And I've cried so much. And I was very emotional. But now I feel a sense of relief. A great sense of relief.
Chris, are you looking forward to lunch on the seafront? Chris, are you looking forward to lunch on the seafront?
Well, I hope so. I hope
it's
so.
Like
So do we.
Like a prisoner.
So do we. So do we. Have a pint for us. It's lovely to talk to you both.
But I just want to say we have had a lot of help.
Oh, I'm sure you have, yes. I'm sure you have.
It's been supportive, and that's vital, of course, isn't it?
And I no time to read out the stacks of messages which are pouring in from our viewers this morning over the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
They think you're both terrific, as do we. Enjoy that lunch by the sea. Enjoy that lunch by the sea and getting some of your life back.
Thank you, thank you.
Done. All right, then, it's 8:32.
Good luck to you both. And, you know, that's one of the benefits, isn't it, when somebody as famous as Bruce Willis stands up and says that, then others around can have the confidence to do it.
It's changed their lives.
It becomes, it benefits everyone.
And may well, people watching who may have a partner who has aphasia, or you may have it yourself.
It's going to start quite small in some cases.
Oh, it can be very gradual.
So you can spot it.
It may have opened doors for you just watching that interview. So we hope so.